Get your day started right with the Morning Connection. Weekday mornings, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. right here on Fit FM 96.7. Connect with Julia Mikkel Benaya on the Morning Connection for news, business and artist promotions, great music and vibe. Morning Connection with Julia Mikkel Benaya, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. weekdays on Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music.
Are you struggling with loneliness? Feeling depressed? Are you searching for a purpose to live? Are you ready to tap into your inner greatness? Ready to soar to your full potential? Come and be inspired. Join me, Dr. Asha Mwendo, on Healing Moment inside Gospel and Soul every Wednesday, 6 p.m., where we will help you to understand your purpose. We will help you to find your wind. We'll show you how to open your wings and fly. Healing Moments, Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. Good evening, my people. How are you this evening? So I am your host, Dr. Asha Mwendo, and you're listening to Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. And it is wonderful to be coming to you live this evening. And remember, we like when we have you as part of our conversation. So please touch base with us at 876-478-9144 or 876-513-6668. And also, we want you to remember that Healing Moments. Okay, I'm having a feedback from my phone. Yes, I'm fixing that. Alrighty. So I want you to remember that Healing Moments join the call for elimination of violence against our women and our girls. This evening, I have two awesome guests sitting in with me. Professor Trevor Monroe and Miss Danielle Archer. And we'll be talking integrity and different ways about integrity, and also looking at the NIA, National Integrity Action Committee. And also, I wanted to remember now, we wanted to be part of the conversation, so mark the numbers, send your text messages in on WhatsApp, send your voice notes if you want to. Make sure anything you're sending is ready for airplay if you're sending voice messages. You can place your messages on our WhatsApp page, on our YouTube page, as well on our Facebook page. So just let us hear from you. And so you know the drill already. You're going to get your pen, get your sip, tell a friend, listen to this bit of music until we come right back.
Oh, na 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 na. I do it on Christian. Now all around me, I see it, me know you can't stop me. Now all around me, God put you all around me. Satan, me know you can't stop me. Him can't go around me wall, no. Him can't go above me wall, no. Him can't go under the wall. No, sir, nothing him can't do me at all. So when me lift up me right hand up there, when me lift up me left hand, man I shout praises to God. All around the world, man, different way. Understand? Now all around me, yeah. God put you all around me. Satan, me know you can't stop me. Now all around me, yeah. God put you all around me. Satan, me know you can't stop me.
Jesus feel offense, now I walk through out all the evil deeds, me stand tall. Who be them a pray, but I got me a call up on me knees, make the enemies fall. And one thing them no know, say me covered so I better them go. One thing when me sure the wall is stronger than the one at Jericho. Oh yeah.
Now all around me, yeah. God put you all around me. Satan, me know you can't stop me. Now all around me, yeah. God put you all around me. Satan, me know you can't stop me. What if me tell you said the wall God build around me can build around you? What if me tell you anything God do then he can do it again in front of you?
Okay, so you're listening to our wonderful music, The Wall Around Us from Dwena. And we have an awesome wall around us built by the divine. And so as we move forward, as I wait on my guests to join us live, we normally do our Let's Talk segment. And so we go right into our Let's Talk segment at this time. So I want to remind you that we're still having the drive on to assist Mayonis children. So please let us hear from you. Continue to support the children that even though their mom has gone to sleep, they can get a good education. Let's partner with the father to give them this benefit, right? And remember, if you want to support them, you can call us here at Fit FM. You can also send me a message on 876-870-2284. And we will be willing to tell you how you support. You can also contact West Indies College Prep directly to give your support as well. Just tell them it's for Mayonis children. These children, their mom went to sleep, but we want to keep them happy, keep them good. Also want to do a quick reminder that we are in the hurricane season. We're in the hurricane season, and remember, we have natural events. We only have disasters when we are not able to manage. So let's try to handle this hurricane season in such a way that we have no disasters, because we are ready and we are prepared and we can navigate. And as you do this, remember now, start preparing yourself. If you have generators for the hurricane season, as some persons normally get them, please do not put them into your living space, because you know that it can be deadly, right? So it can be deadly. Today is also World Food Safety Day, and the theme is Food Standards Save Lives. And Mr. Pat Buchanan said, the food that enters the mind must be watched as closely as the food that enters the body. So let's take care of our minds and our bodies this evening as we're telling you on Healing Moments. And Joe Salatin said, you can't have a healthy civilization without healthy soil. So you need good dirt to grow good food, right? So we want to do our food safety. We also want to pay attention as well to how we take care of the food after we get it into our houses, right? So let's do that. And for our wellness tip today, this month is Men's Health Month. And so I'm saying to our men, one of the ways of staying healthy is to maintain a sense of humor. Learn to laugh. And I'm telling you, humor is good. And I will just give you a quick story of a gentleman who I met in Montego Bay on Monday. I was in Montego Bay on Monday doing a number of things, but I was speaking to a small group. And so when I finished speaking to this group, this gentleman who said that I have been watching you, he said to me, tell me your name is Ruth. So I was puzzled and I said, why should I tell you that my name is Ruth? He said, because when we make contact, you're going to tell me that you will entreat me never to leave you nor to depart from you. And you'll tell me that my God can be your God and all of that thingamajig. Of course, I had a good laughter with him, and laughter is healthy and it is good for us. So I'm saying to our men, part of being well is to have a good sense of humor and learn to laugh at yourself. Okay, so we are now going to move into our main phase, and I have my two guests joining me this evening. And so I'll give you a little bit of introduction about each of them, and then they will tell you about themselves, because who better to tell you about themselves than they? So my first guest is Miss Danielle S. Archer. She likes to just call her Daddy.
That's right. How you know, so somebody get a secret?
Anyway, when she comes and she'll tell you that, right? I catch the secret, girl. Yes. So she is licensed to practice law from the Norman Manley Law School in Kingston, Jamaica. Yes, all my international friends listening in is a Jamaican trained girl, this. And she has been practicing law 5. And I won't tell you no wholly for something about her. She'll tell you the rest, but I want you to know that she is now the principal director of NI. That's a little bit. But one of the things I love about Danielle is that she kind of have a little passion that I do as well, because she practices to facilitate community development through scholarships, bursaries, and internships for students. And that is really a passion of mine. Right now, you know that I have 170 children going to school. So I'm a perpetual resource mobilizer to take care of my children. Along with Daniel, we have also Professor Trevor Monroe. Yes, girl. And so he's a founding director and consultant for NIA since 2012. Founding director since 2012. He's an author of co-author of 9 books. And we all know he's a bright scholar around. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He has a PhD in political science from Oxford University. And so therefore, I will tell you nothing more about my 2 wonderful guests this evening. Hello.
Sorry, waking up a while ago.
I'm talking to you both.
Oh, we're hearing you
Professor
now.
and
Sorry.
We're hearing you now. We're hearing you now.
There's a little bit of a
Okay.
delay.
Oh, you know how the
Yeah.
system go already. Right.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Beautiful. The system gives trouble every now and then. Yes. Okay. Beautiful. So I'm bringing you guys on now. So Danielle, normally they say ladies before gentlemen, but this time
But I have
Absolutely
no
correct.
difficulty with
Absolutely
you
correct.
allowing
tell us
Prof to
evening
go.
first. Tell us a little
have-
bit of who he is and tell the people.
Oh, I would. You just walked up my aisle, Doc. You walked right up my stream.
So, Professor,
It is a pleasure to tell you about the professor. May I be permitted to do so?
Is Danielle you asking to tell about me?
okay,
Asha?
awesome.
Or you asking me to tell about me?
Okay, yes. Make him tell about himself. What is wrong with
Okay, all right. So,
you? So, Professor, tell my listeners who you are and how you do.
Well, first of all, Asha, I'm so
Go
happy
ahead,
to be on your
Professor.
program. I'm so happy to be on your program. It's good to be with you. It's bad that it's the first time I'm listening, but I hope that it won't be the last.
Amen.
And the first thing about me is that I'm very
Isn't
proud
it?
of I'm
Amen.
very proud of my student who is on with me, named is Danielle Archer, who was my student at the UWI Mona campus.
Oh,
A
boy.
very, very bright and just a wonderful student.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that.
there you go. And so it's been a long journey
Mhm.
from learning at my
Mhm.
parents and grandparents' feet, the 2 things that have kept me through the twists and turns. The life has been a junction, not Highway 2000, and The two things:
Okay.
being your brother's keeper, number one, and doing unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And through all the twists and turns, that
Going.
has been the guiding principle. And
Yes.
I hope that I've lived by it from my days on campus as a student
Mm-hmm.
myself on the Mona campus when we had to stand up for justice. We want justice on so many occasions. And that has kept me going
Yes.
from when I went to Oxford University. There are so many issues there that we had to take up: discrimination against Black people in the town itself, and we had to put an end to that in a number of cases. The authoritarian rule of the Oxford administration, and we had to deal with that. And then returning to Jamaica to get very fully involved in the
Mm-hmm.
Black Power movement in the late 1960s, early 70s, with the
Yes.
Abeng newspaper is a very, very important newspaper with Rupert Lewis and so many others. And then later on, we formed the Workers' Party of Jamaica to stand up for the
Mm-hmm.
working class people of the country. And at the same time, I had 25 years, perhaps
Yeah.
my proudest years in the trade union movement when I moved amongst the sugar workers, the cane cutters, the factory workers at Denno and Geddes, Ray and Nevio. Learned so much about the real life conditions of the grassroots of Jamaica, who keeps us going, who have kept our economy and our country going through thick and thin. And of course, in all of that, had to make sure that I
True thing.
was doing my teaching, making sure that the Daniels of this world learned something from teaching on campus and doing research and writing. Got a number of fellowships, one two Fulbright fellowships to Harvard University in the 1990s, research fellowships to the UK at Birmingham University,
Okay.
to European Continental Institute of Social Studies in The Hague, and in doing public service at the same time. So when I was asked to serve in the Senate by the then Prime Minister as an independent senator in 1997, I said, yes, this is another area to serve. And I served in Jamaica's Senate for 10 years. During that time, championing anti-corruption
10 years.
legislation,
Yes.
such as campaign finance, to make sure that he who pays the piper and calls the tune too often that we know who is doing that. We still don't know, but it's a long journey to get that done. And then, help to found the
Yes.
Citizen Action for Free and Fair Elections, CAFE, when we wanted Jamaica's elections to be less violent and less corrupt. And I'm very happy to have been a part of the formation of CAFE, which still exists today and does good work whenever we have elections coming up. And then the
Yes.
National Integrity Action, which was born out of National Integrity Forum. We had a forum a couple of years before NIA
Right.
was formed in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
What that forum did is discuss the issues having to do with how much of Jamaica's product was being stolen, how much was being taken away by the corrupt, depriving our schools or health services of much valued funding. And that led to the formation of National Integrity Action. And our dedication from that time is
Right.
towards good governance. Good governance meaning those who are in charge must be accountable to us. We must know what they're doing. They must be transparent. We as the citizens have our own responsibility. We must participate. We can't just stay one side and wonder what's going on and curse people. We have to get involved to make things better if we don't like
Yeah.
what's going on. And of course, NIA during those
Very,
last 10
very.
or so
Yes.
years has done much what would have loved to do more. And we are still very active. And in fact, as you know, at this moment in time, new challenges are being posed to our people to get justice, to get greater equity. Jamaica is one of the most unequal countries in the world.
Yes.
That's
And
not
so
acceptable.
before,
Absolutely not
Professor,
acceptable.
Professor, before we get to those challenges, we want to also bring Daniel in. And so
Sure.
we're going to ask Daniel now to tell the people, tell my listeners who you are.
You know, I'm sitting here listening to Prof speak, and I have to indicate my bias. I am, first of all, his student, and I'm proud to indicate that. I have a degree in politics. You know, my first degree is
Yes.
actually in political science and international relations, and I did all my electives in psychology. But when I
Okay.
was younger, I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
and then this is really showing my age, or perhaps
You.
my ability to dream. I used to envisage being an attorney, but also a political analyst, because I was influenced greatly
Okay.
by Professor, well, no professor at
Mhm.
the time, he was Dr. Brian Meeks, who was also a mentee of Professor Monroe.
Okay.
So imagine my complete
Mm-hmm.
utopian responsibility and response when I had the benefit of being taught by Dr. Meeks and, of course, Professor Monroe, and later to
Yes.
literally be able to participate
Yes.
in securing the legacy of Professor Monroe, in ensuring that Jamaica continues to be a shining example of what good governance is. My responsibility as his student,
Yes.
my burning desire as a Jamaican. I am a Jamaican. I went to a primary school. I am a staunch supporter of proud childhood girl. So, as far as I'm aware, I have a responsibility to be, at the very least, a champion for the benefit or the development of Jamaica. That's who I am. I take my skill set as an advocate, as a trained
Same
attorney
here.
whose passion is
Amen.
litigation and mediation, my passion in looking at governance and being a trained political scientist,
Mm-hmm.
to use them together, as well as my background in media, to do the best I can to continue the goal of Professor Monroe, which is to get every Jamaican involved in the system of governance, because without the people,
Yes.
democracy would not exist. And you do need some persons who remind us constantly and consistently of what the
No.
tenets are and how it is that we can ensure that the place where we call home benefits from good governance. So Daniel is merely, as it stands, I am, you know, I desire to be the servant of the people, or the voice for those who need to know more about governance. That's who I am.
Off the- Right. Daniel, we're losing you.
You
We're
are
losing you. Daniel? Okay, you're back now. Uh-huh.
excellent.
Yes, I'm hearing you now. Okay, so good. So now, right, good. So now, listeners, you have heard who my, and so we're going to talk a little bit more. First thing I want to ask, and either one of you or both of you can answer: integrity, NIA, is that a joke, or is it something real that can really be impactful in Jamaica? Can we have a democratic country that governance that embraces integrity? Is that a figment or utopic figment of our imagination, or is it something we see? So, Professor, you know where NIA started, where we were then, and Daniela, you see where we are now. So, between both of you, talk to me, talk to my listeners.
Well, first of all, integrity is always a work in progress. You never
Who is
really
going to go
get to
first?
I think Prof is.
yeah, I was saying that integrity just is very
Yes,
simple, Asha. Those of your listeners
yes.
who
Okay, so Prof.
will just think about integrity means
Mm-hmm.
doing the right thing, but doing the right thing when no one is looking. Doing the right thing when no one is looking. And it's
Looking
difficult
all the
because
time.
all of us are tempted. All of us have to undergo temptations. The great man himself was tempted
Mm-hmm.
when he was here 2,000 years ago. and all of us will be tempted. The thing is to have such a core of values to resist the temptation, and to also have a system around you that those who are breaching integrity and who are put into positions of trust, that they can be appropriately sanctioned. So when NIA started, there was no law governing the funding of elections in terms of who could pay the candidates. The candidates could get as much money as possible from any single individual, and of course, you know what that would mean. That if you as a candidate for election and you get all of the money from one person, that one person would have more power over you than the people who elected you. Now that's changed in that we now have a law which put limits on how much any individual can give to a political party, how much any individual can give to a political candidate. So we have now laws in place that were not there before. We now have an integrity commission which has the power to prosecute. That wasn't there when we started. And very importantly, we didn't have as much discussion of how to deal with corruption more effectively. People are now more conscious and more aware of what needs to be done. And in fact, what I'm finding from the survey data, that the surveys done in our schools and elsewhere, that the youngsters know the difference between right and wrong. Very, very important. In fact, in 2017, about 6 or 7 years after NIA was formed, there was a national survey done by the Office of the Contractor General, the Department of Government on campus conducted a survey of youngsters between the age of 10 and 19 in secondary schools across Jamaica. And it was to test the extent to which they were aware of the difference between right and wrong, what is corrupt and what is not. And the results of that were very encouraging. I give you one example. The question was asked of the youngsters in school, 2017, a few years ago, if an unemployed person without any means were to steal electricity, is that right or wrong? 70% of the youngsters said it's wrong. And that was a pleasant surprise for me, because you might have thought that the youngsters would have been willing to excuse wrongdoing on the basis of personal challenges and hardship and so on. But they said it was wrong. And not so encouraging when they were asked, would you report wrong if you saw it? Less of percentage said. And the question was asked, why wouldn't you? And here was the answer. I wouldn't bother to do it because I don't think anything would happen. At that point, and still today, there's a feeling amongst our people that if you report wrong, nothing will come out of it, and you may be putting yourself at risk. And therefore, one of the things NIA has to do is to encourage the authorities and to encourage ourselves, not only to report wrong, but to ensure that when wrong is reported, some sanctions are applied so that people will understand corruption does not pay, whereas too often now, looking around, corruption is paying. So I think the formation of the organization had led to an increase in awareness. We have been involved in training scores of young Jamaicans in different parishes in partnership with the Council for Voluntary Social Services at one point, in partnership with Youth for Change, another organization. So the partnerships have really worked. And of course, not everything has been perfect, because NIA, like any organization that's of our kind, needs funding to keep it going, to get it able to do all the television ads that help to make people more aware and more conscious. And the funding has been uneven over the years, and that has meant that we have been less active sometimes, more active other times. And at this moment, we're very much looking for more funding, because there's so much to do now to deal with getting things right and dealing with the wrongs that are going on and combating the corruption that's very, very evident in our country today.
Okay, so Professor, before we bring Daniel on, we have a question on our YouTube page. So I wanted to listen to the question about you and Daniel, and then I want to hear from both of you on this. It says, who monitors the political donations, and has anyone been prosecuted by the Integrity Commission? So I will
Very
not
good
try to
question.
answer. I'm going to ask you guys to answer.
Very good question. The political donations
And this is
are
coming from
monitored.
DL out of New York.
The political donations are monitored by the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. And this Electoral Commission is one of the stars in Jamaica's firmament in terms of the international situation. Very few countries have a body monitoring elections that's not dominated by political appointees. In our case, our Electoral Commission, which evolved from the Electoral Advisory Council in the late 1970s to what it is now, is a commission on which both political parties represented in Parliament. They have persons on it, but the majority are independent individuals who are appointed on the advice, on the discretion of the head of state, the Governor General. He may hear advice from the political parties, but he doesn't have to follow it. And this commission is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that the regulations governing political party finance are observed. They are the ones to ensure that no one gives a certain money above a certain amount. They are the ones to ensure that there are no foreign governments donating to Jamaican political parties, and also, of course, that there are no illegal organizations, because up until the first decade of the 21st century, we had Ponzi schemes that were donating illegal money to political parties. That is now against the law, and our Electoral Commission is the one to monitor it.
I think you also asked
Professor.
a question about
so
the
now, Lady Daniel, over to you.
What would you like me to address?
Oh, yes. Has anyone
been prosecuted
in Jamaica at any time?
At any time, we could go back to the. We can. But hold on. If you talk, we can break them up in segments. In terms of the prosecution,
in Jamaica.
I think I had this discussion with Prof today. We were talking about the fact that the Integrity Commission needed to strengthen its prosecutorial skill set by sharpening their, perhaps doing quicker investigations so that there could be more prosecutions. To my mind, the most successful prosecution of a politician involved in corruption was Jag Smith, and that was more than 30 years ago. To date, we have not had the prosecution of any politician who has been implicated or alleged, right? So where we want to go is we want to be able to strengthen the Integrity Commission so that they are in a position to do so, because we've had several opportunities for investigation, but it appears that these investigations have not been done quickly enough to facilitate the prosecution of these persons who have been implicated.
Right.
And that is what we want to also encourage. You know, when we talk about
is that sometimes, yes.
I just think we had a break in transmission. I'm sorry. I didn't get what you're saying, so I paused.
Yes, we just did. Yes. No, continue.
Well, what I was suggesting is one of the things that we need to do is
continue on the thought you were giving. Continue.
Strengthen the Integrity Commission so that they are empowered to do the necessary investigations in a timely fashion so that there can be prosecution if necessary. The other thing, I heard you talking to Prof, and I couldn't help but think that when we talk about corruption, oftentimes we focus on grand corruption, the big corruption, the corruption that we talk about and focus on in the high places. When we talk about integrity is something that you learn over time. It becomes a habit. It requires us changing our social norms. And if we do it in the small things, then we can expect that when it comes to the big things, we are in a greater position to challenge those around us who do it the wrong way. So one of the things that NIA is focused on doing is not just showing people where corruption costs, but it's
Right.
also sharing with people the importance of being a one of integrity in all your actions so that you can call people out and feel strong about calling them out, knowing fully well that you're doing the thing the right way. So I'll give you a good example, Prof. After we had our meeting today, I went to get some
Right
lunch.
way.
They actually gave me a large container when I purchased a small one. So I had it in my bag. And I looked at the receipt and realized that what I had on the receipt was different from what was in my bag. What would you do? Do you leave because you've already cashed it and you have something, or do you go back to the counter
Right.
and say you've made an error? I elected to go back to the counter to show the registrar and the supervisor that you actually gave
Go back.
me a large container, but I paid for a small container. Very small matters. The response was, oh, okay, it's all
Right.
right. And I said, are you sure it's okay? And everyone turns and looks at me as if I'm doing something wrong. The lesson I want to say and to share is that integrity requires us to do the small things the right way all the time. Nobody's standing up over my shoulders. I would have been the beneficiary of a bigger lunch at a smaller price. But at the end of the day, would it have been right? If we can change social norms and allow everybody to be on the same page when it comes to doing the right thing, when we drive on the road, when we go to the tax office, the things that we expect, just because you want
Yes.
to apply, we change the mindset and expect people to do it the right way. So when they do it the wrong way, we frown upon them. When we build that kind of culture, when it comes to our politicians, they will not think it's the norm or the accepted habit. And that will take some time. And so one of the things NIA is focused on doing is building out that public engagement aspect where we share with youngsters, we share with individuals the importance of doing the right thing and getting them involved in changing the norms so it becomes a habit and a way of life.
Amen.
That would be the
Okay, so
connection between
DL
what
is
Prof has
continuing
done.
his conversation. So first he says he's watching, so we want to say welcome and their public report of the political contributions, donations, and are the politicians adhering to it? That's one question. And the other one, I think it's a statement, is he knows about Jack Smith, but his thought is that it has nothing to do with violation of the contribution. Also, he is saying that was
It had
before the
nothing to do.
lifetime of the Integrity Commission. So he's asked, what he has here, it has nothing to do with violation of the contribution violation. So he's saying that Jack Smith's
He's
case
correct.
had nothing to do
He's
with
correct,
contribution
but because you had
violation.
phrased it,
And
he's
then
correct.
he's also saying right. Yes, and I understand that. So, he's making, I'm not asking question really.
Right.
But then he's also
correct,
saying
but
the
there has
Integrity
been no
Commission was not
prosecution.
around then since the Integrity Commission.
Right. So we did address the issue that under the Integrity Commission, there has not yet been a successful
Daniel?
prosecution. I think the internet isn't our friend this afternoon.
Yeah, not so friendly at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
he's
you
correct.
did say that they need to be moving a little. Yes, the internet is going in and out, so we just have to try to see how best we navigate this crazy system. I think it's the weather. The weather has something to do with it. Right. So
Can I just add
so we are
something,
looking
Asha, if
now
I may?
at the
Asha, he
Integrity
asked a
Commission
question. Asha, he asked a
as
question
it is and what
whether
it is
there is a
doing.
requirement.
Yes.
He asked a question whether there's a requirement for
Yes, I'm
public
hearing.
exposure of the donations that are made to political parties
Public,
or to candidates. Right,
yes.
public declaration. The answer is no, and that's one of the areas,
Yes,
as we speak, that NIA is advocating that
Correct.
the law which is the first ever in the Caribbean and remains the most advanced of all the Caribbean countries that have no control. We have at least some legislative framework, but there are weaknesses. Now that we have the law, the next step is to ensure that the loopholes are plugged. And one of those loopholes your listener has pointed to, namely that there is not public disclosure of who gives how much to which party or who gives how much to which candidate. And that happens in many countries in the world. It needs to happen in Jamaica. And that's one of the areas that NIA is advocating as we speak.
Great. And he's also correct that there's been no prosecution under that
Because as a
legislation.
layman, just looking on what it's right. So as a layman looking on, some of my concerns have been we keep on having these conversations about putting commissions in place, which is a very good thing. But then we have this commission in place that don't have enough teeth. One, don't have enough resources to move as fast as you were alluding to, Daniel. So when they do finally come out and make a statement, it is now interpreted by whomever is looking on and who want to fight it to say it's a witch hunt and all kind of crazy things. So these are some of the things we are looking at as ordinary people. So I'm looking at now, Daniel, you are leading the NIA now, and we know all of these challenges. How do you see the NIA under your leadership in this dispensation, which of course us as members supporting it? How do you see us having impact? And if we're going to have impact, what do you think it will look like in the next 5 years?
The impact continues to be engaging the public.
Over to you, Daniel.
So if you're talking about the inability of the Integrity Commission to speak, that's what I want you to focus on. So currently, the legislation does not allow the Integrity Commission to tell anybody whether they're investigating any politician. They can't speak about it. They can't say that they're investigating. They can't say who they're investigating. They can't even give you a timeline for the investigations. Under my leadership, we will continue the advocacy for the removal of the gag clause, which will permit the Integrity Commission to share with the public, like the police does when they're investigating, that they have this information and they're doing this investigation. And they will indicate if we have that gag clause removed, it will allow the public to understand in a greater and more efficient way what it is the Integrity Commission is doing. The second thing, Aisha, that we want to focus on in terms of getting the public involved would be to get the public involved. So we're looking more at not just our integrity clubs, but empowering our integrity advocates to share this information so that people willingly call out situations so that we can act on them and we can speak out on them. And over the next couple of years, what you will find is that the advocacy of NIA will not just be limited as it is now to the traditional media, but we'll join forces with other persons who have a skill set. So let's take, for instance, what JAMP is doing. JAMP has tools that are available. We can use the same platforms, the same social media platforms, and utilize these tools to send messages to our members of parliament. We can empower, like we're doing now when we say to our listeners, ask your member of parliament, why haven't they signed the code of conduct? These 7 principles that talk about how we should have good governance, honesty, selflessness, integrity, accountability. Send a note to your MP, ask them. The advocacy from NIA on this particular level becomes more of empowering the people to ask questions. It's not just about challenging or critiquing the governance structure, but it will be more about empowering every Jamaican to understand that they are part of the system of governance and they are entitled to, and they have a right to ask these questions. We have a unique opportunity as we take the baton from Professor Monroe. He has set an excellent foundation, giving us all the tools we need to understand what governance is about. The next stage of NIA's lifespan is to empower Jamaicans to understand that the test of governance rests with them. So we're going to be talking more about what it is that we can do as individuals in the space that we operate to hold individuals accountable. And that would be something that we'll continue to watch in the next few years.
Can I add something to that, Asha?
So first... Okay, go ahead.
Can I add something to that? Because one of the very good signs is that as we speak, the number of Jamaicans who are now making reports to the Integrity Commission has doubled in the last year or two. The number of Jamaicans who are making reports to the Auditor General's office, that has also multiplied. The number of Jamaicans who are now calling into Crime Stop to say what they see that's suspicious and that looks wrong. that has multiplied in the last few years. So what we are seeing is more Jamaicans beginning to speak out, beginning to say, look, what's wrong needs to stop, and I'm not just going to keep quiet about it, I'm going to
Right.
come forward. Far more need to be coming forward, but we're seeing the beginnings of it. And part of the challenge at NIA, and as Daniela said, she will be taking up the responsibility. I will be at her side whenever she needs me, is to get those numbers far more up than they are, and to ensure that by more people talking out and standing up, we get greater accountability and greater responsiveness from our leaders and from those who say they are willing to serve us.
Correct.
Amen. Positioning, we know that change you see in increments of 5 years, things are happening. And so, yes, thing on the table as the president for the Neighborhood Watch movement of Jamaica, and we have Neighborhood Watch in all divisions, all parishes. As you say, we have 19 divisions. We have Neighborhood Watch in all of these divisions that partners with the police as well. We are now, I am personally extending as the president my support to the I am a member of the NIA, yes, but in this new capacity, so extending the Neighborhood Watch as part of the vehicle that the NIA can partner with to reach the common man on the ground, for them to understand what integrity is. Integrity is not jumping the line, not saying you don't want to pay a ticket, and just understand what integrity, ordinary person, one, and two, how can you hold the people you employ to be your governance leaders responsible for their actions. Because one of the things we need to realize, I always ask persons the question. Sometimes when I ask them, they feel that I am being offensive, and then I have to explain. When you say you want justice, what does justice looks like for you? And justice will look differently for each person based on your own integrity and how you look at life. And if it's money you want, or you want to see things happening in a different way, that tomorrow another person in your position will not have the same quarrel. So I'm going back to you again, Danielle, because you are presently now the NIA director. And a professor gave a good story of how when you talk with the young people and they understand what integrity is. My question to you now, Daniel, how are you going to build on what Professor Monroe have done and his members with him, because he had his team, and the trainings that have been given? So a number of trainings have been given, but sometimes you don't see the implementation taking place. So how are you going to build on this good legacy that have been placed to engage the younger generation? Because I believe any change happening in any society, while you have the seniors agitating, if the youth don't catch the fire to carry the blaze on, we still will be fighting a losing battle. And we'd have to start the process over every 5 years with a new generation. How do we make sure now that continue? How do
I hitch a ride? I hitch a ride in your vehicle for the neighborhood watches. So I hitch a ride in your vehicle, and we have that conversation with the family and friends in the communities. In addition to that ride, we also take the journey, which is building on what Prof has done with we have 25, I think, integrity clubs. We build on that. My mission and dream is to have an integrity club in every school, whether it is a primary school or a high school, that we continue to build out the integrity club so that they become as prestigious as a debate society or the student council body. So you continue the legacy by building out these clubs. You meet the people where they are. So if you notice, one of the things that we have the benefit of now is Professor Monroe has done exemplary work in doing the research and telling you where you need to go and what you need to do. Now you take that information by whatever means is necessary. So we're going to be including our integrity advocates. I think we are supposed to have scheduled a meeting with them to find out what their skill sets are and where it is that they want to lean in terms of their contribution. We have a vast resource when it comes to integrity advocates, persons who have already been trained, persons who want to associate themselves with NIA. We're going to build that out so that we have tentacles of individuals in different areas. The greatest resource that NIA has is not wealth. We rely a lot on donations, and a lot of the donations we get are for projects. So our greatest resource are the people who support us, the integrity advocates,
Right.
or integrity clubs, or integrity students. So we'll be building that out school by school, center by center, hearing our associates give us their ideas, and hopefully we will have that sense of purpose within our team, the people who have supported Prof in the past, from the forum days to now, that
Okay.
they
And
too, because their love is, of course,
mhm.
Jamaica and seeing good governance, to lend their skill sets in a particular area so that we can meet our youngsters wherever they are and share the information so that they too, upon becoming the matured members of the society, can continue the legacy
Okay.
of securing good governance.
Yeah. Okay, Daniel, I think we lost you for a little bit. But while you're coming back to us, Daniel, I'll ask another question. I just got a question on my WhatsApp page, personal WhatsApp page. So persons will use different mediums to get in touch. So the question is now coming from some of our integrity advocates. So they are saying for a while, we know funds is a challenge, but the membership is not truly feeling the NIA. And so therefore they're asking if that is on your agenda as well, Daniel, and by your support, Professor, if those things are on the agenda to be addressed. I kind of know the answer,
You
but I
mean
prefer you to.
you mean they're not feeling all right? I get you, but remember I just said to you, our greatest resource
Okay.
are our members. I'm not sure if you caught that. And so what it means is that they are going to be, you have to remember,
I caught it, but somebody, because of that,
they're different
somebody,
stages.
so Daniel,
So we are
so
going to
before
be
you,
involving.
I think internet
okay,
is giving
so
us some
one
trouble.
of the things is after you made that statement, someone is saying that they
Mhm.
yes, so yes, giving us a fight. So I've just realized I was speaking, so that's why I stopped. She realized now. So that question came immediately after you made that statement to say they keep hearing that we are going to be involved, and this is happening before your time, Daniel. So it's no shade on you, not even shade on Professor, because you have explained over and over in our small groups the challenges we face. So they are saying, with this is still having the challenges of low funds and all of that, how will you approach differently to ensure you engage them?
I think the difference is that I did say to you that they're our greatest resource and they have skill sets. So when we meet with them, we will certainly arrange how it is that they can leverage their contribution to making NIA what they dream of as the continued specialized leading entity on governance. That can only be done by us engaging and hearing their ideas, because the truth is, and it is a reality, that in order for NIA to continue to thrive, we are going to need their partnership. Over the years, there may have been statements and comments, but we have progressed beyond that, because where we are today is in an era where we can leverage and we recognize that as a non-profit organization, our greatest skill set is what our supporters can bring. So they can look forward to having our meetings for us to I want to use the colloquial term, feel out how it is that they can contribute, where their skill set is at, and we'll apply it. We are as strong as they are, and we can only be stronger if they contribute. And the fact that we have had to change how it is that we accommodate members, because it is at the end of the day a company that's a non-profit organization that comes with certain strictures, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't participate. So together, not for me to tell you how it's going to be done as the new principal director. In fact, today is the 7th of June, and it would mark my second month as principal director. So having taken the reins, I'm learning the game. I'm understanding what the management system is like. I apologize if it is that I have not met with you all before, but before I can meet with you, there are certain things that I have to learn to come upstream so I can come to you with something. So we will be meeting and we will do this together. We will certainly hear from you how it is that you want to participate and come to some consensus as to how we can make it happen.
Can I fully endorse that, Asha, and say that this is one of the things that we have wanted to do, and now is the time for us to have those meetings, face-to-face meetings, as well as online meetings, so that Daniel can get a sense of the willingness and ability of different skill sets to get involved and to help us move the Jamaica forward with greater levels of integrity.
Right. Awesome. So as we are coming down to our few next 4 minutes we have, so I can't imagine where the time went. We have been carrying on very nicely. But before we even close off, so Daniel, I have heard you and I have seen your action and I've seen the requests you have put into all some of our groups. So I want you now to use this opportunity to call out to all your membership, those of us, and also persons who have never been involved in the NIA, understanding what integrity is about, bringing new people on board. So use this moment to invite persons to serve and also invite our present serving members to make response when questions are asked. Because
Right, so
if
here
you
goes.
want some, yes, go ahead.
I can only say to you, Asha, look, we're in some serious times. You have a choice. If you watch The Matrix, it's either the red pill or the blue pill. If you're a Harry Potter
Yes.
fan, there'll be never ever an opportunity like this to face the Dark Lord. If it is that you're simply just a Jamaican who wants a better opportunity, you don't want to be in any pea, whether it is the green pea or the purple pea or the pink pea or the orange pea, it doesn't really matter. What we want to focus on now is building a culture of Jamaica for Jamaicans. We want to be able to be among those first. I keep saying to people, I apologize for my age if I come across as being too naive and if I come across as being too young. At 60, we ought not to be defining ourselves as which political party we belong to. We must define ourselves as being Jamaicans. There is no other opportunity for an individual to contribute to the growing sense of better, greater governance than being part of the process. Rebellions and revolutions come in many forms. If you want change, the only vehicle for change right now is to contribute to an entity like NIA. You can contribute to NIA by joining, calling, sponsoring. Some of you have excellent skills of social media. You will note I have absolutely no social media presence. So do not be surprised when I tell you I know nothing about social media. But I am absolutely sure we have several members whose skill set is social media. Let's create that army. We have several persons who are excellent at marketing. Let me know what you're interested in. We will come together and market integrity. This is not about NIA. I kid you not. I am a great fan of Professor Monroe. I would like the name of NIA to continue, but that is not as important as the future of Jamaica. So, Asha, the simplest thing I can say is NIA aim and mission is for better governance. If you are a Jamaican, there's no point in you don't drive looking in the rearview mirror going forward. For you to get to your next destination, you must look forward. So the basic glance in the rearview mirror, only to make sure that nobody not creep up on you. But if you're driving forward and we're moving forward, we're in the vehicle going to the neighborhood watches, we're in the vehicle going to the churches, we're in the vehicle going to schools, so that we can get people to understand that a better Jamaica requires greater responsibility from us as Jamaicans. And one port of call, one bus stop, is getting people to understand what integrity is and how important that is. So send your message, call our office. You're already in the group. Share the group. Look here, we do this together. Jamaica for Jamaicans, it is never a thing about who gets the glory. It's never the thing about building a legacy. Although I'll whisper to you,
Daniel, do you have Daniel?
The model student, I will tell you that my mission is to ensure his vision never dies.
Amen.
Amen.
No one could have said it better. You hear it here. Professor, you have half a minute.
And in that half a minute, I want to
we can do it again.
I want to make sure that I congratulate you personally for being the first female president of the 35-year-old National Neighborhood Watch. And that is the kind of achievement that is in all of us. That potential is there, and that's what NIA is about. All of the skill sets have a place, And just as you are doing your job as head of the National Neighborhood Watch, there are so many others who can do similar jobs as head of community organizations, youth clubs, citizens bodies. And so we give them every encouragement and we ask them to respond to Daniel's call.
Amen. Amen. Want to thank both of you for being my guests so much. And of course, I'm going to ensure we do this again. Hopefully, we'll do it again on a day when we have better service, because we need to get the message out. Professor, maybe you can contact somebody and get some sponsorship for Tono come down to Trelawney, and stay at one hotel overnight and just come into studio on Wednesday. Let's work on that.
Well, I must
and
tell
you
you,
come into studio and we sit down so we won't have any internet trouble.
We need to tell those of the listening who have fundraising skills and can write proposals. Boy, we need you like tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's a place for everybody. Those who can get sponsorship, those who can sell a message, and those who can empower people.
Yeah, man.
All right,
everybody.
Blessings. Have a good one. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Awesome. So there you have it. My guests this evening, Daniel and Professor Monroe, have been with us, and we have had a good time talking about integrity. The conversation continues. But remember, integrity begins in the home. Integrity begins with you in your communities. If you want to see it different, you got to do different. In order to grow, you must first accept where you are and who you are, and then make a decision to move forward. You have been listening to Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music, and we promise we'll do it all over again next week when we have another awesome program lined up for you. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Prof. We will continue our conversation around the bend.
You, good to see you. And
blessings and good evening from Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7, the life, your music.